And now we are live.
Awesome.
Welcome to Talking Tangos week. I don't know what now. 10
Week second to last.
semifinals week.
Semifinals week. Scott, WeHo Music, WeHoScott, WeHo whatever. Not from WeHo, but Studio City.
Scott, formerly of WeHo.
Right.
And I'm AngelAngieKC in Northeast Oklahoma, formerly of Kansas City, LA, Washington, D.C., Minneapolis, wherever I kind of had a job.
Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii. How do I forget about Hawaii every once in a while?
It
Didn't feel like a job.
Oh.
6 months in Kauai, it was like I felt like I was on vacation for 6 months.
Yeah, that's a nice gig.
So.
All right, so we're down to the final 4 couples.
We are, and this is kind of the 4 that I figured it was going to be.
Right.
Even if, even Tamar not having to withdraw, I was thinking we would be down to these final 4. And I kind of expected the powers to be to keep it at 4, not to try and bring Alexa back.
Right.
And not to do an elimination this week, even though they faked one.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Totally was what I thought it would be. And yeah, if you had asked me from about the halfway point on, this is probably the semifinal configuration I would have come up with.
Yeah. So it's semifinals week and trios week. They brought trios back, which I love trios. I mean, there have been some really cool trios. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely fun.
It seems to me like they were trying this year. They seem to have tried to do some fan favorites, keep some fan favorites in there. Because trios are a big fan favorite.
Right.
And then they did some things that I thought were very much, they're very much audience geared, the iconic dances and the showstoppers.
Right.
So, and then every year they do that most memorable year. But the Hometown Glory Week was kind of cool. I loved that because of the hearing the pros.
Right.
Stories way back in, what is that, week 2?
Yeah.
Although the 2 dances in the second week I thought was stupid.
It was a lot.
We'll get to that. We can talk about that next week.
Yeah.
So we can start out with a Bindi deck. Everybody had either a ballroom or Carlos had a contemporary.
Contemporary, right.
So yeah, their first dance was,
salsa, yeah.
Salsa, waltz, contemporary, and tango. So
yeah,
I was okay with.
Complained about the hips, or did they like the hips? I wrote hips.
Well, Bindi and Derek started off with the salsa, and it was was it "You Never Fully Dressed"? That was the song,
right?
So of course that song is very light and fluffy.
Mm-hmm.
Which does not coordinate with salsa for me.
Right.
Salsa's down dirty street dancing. And that was the complaint from Carrie Ann and Julianne.
Right.
Was that they like a more down and dirty salsa with a lot more, hip action.
Hip action, sexy. And the interesting thing was, which I agreed with them, they danced it well to that music.
Uh-huh.
But maybe the music then was not the best choice if you wanted to.
Yeah, see, I watched it and thought, this is a great dance, but it looks cha-cha to me.
Right. Very cha-cha.
It seemed more cha-cha than salsa, what I'm used to seeing salsa.
Right.
So while I thought she did it well, I was like, I slightly agreed with them with the fact that it felt, it didn't feel that really fun street dance, salsa dance. So anyway, but what do I know from dance?
Well, they still managed to pull off 999.
Exactly, so all 9. So I thought that was great, especially going first out of the gate, because that very first thing is always tough, depending on who you are and what you're doing.
Right.
So couple number 2 was Alec and Lindsay doing a waltz, and I was thinking to myself, thank goodness he's got a couple of dances in hold. He should be fantastic this week, and he was. I mean, I thought this was a very, very pretty dance. He looked great.
Right.
Was it 30 worthy? I'm not so sure in comparison to other dances, but in comparison to him, to his dances, it's probably his 30.
It's interesting because I felt like they were really pimping him this week. And I don't have a problem with Alex. It's not like I'm annoyed, but I felt like his package had so many interviews of so many. I mean, they were they pulled out all the stops for that package. And then the flag in the beginning, the salute to America, America the Beautiful. It was almost a little obvious what they were doing.
Yeah, I can't decide if they suddenly got a clue. If he's getting so many votes, they suddenly got a clue and went, oh, we're not going to stop this guy being in the top 2 or 3.
Right.
So maybe we need to not look stupid.
Right. Unfortunately, you run the risk of feeling like it's a little bit of pandering, but he's such a cool guy that if I'm voting, I'm not going to take that out on him.
Yeah.
I like him and whatever, it's not going to affect me.
Yeah. So like I said, I really enjoyed the dance. I kind of almost wish his jacket had been unbuttoned. I was distracted by the jacket occasionally, the way it pulled, because he's got that nice, powerful chest, and it would pull occasionally when he would do the extension. I was thinking, I wonder if it would have looked better just aesthetically to me if that jacket had been unbuttoned and kind of gone. But, nitpicky, tiny little nitpicky stuff.
Yeah.
So they ended up with a 30.
Right.
And then we went on to Carlos and Whitney doing a contemporary. And I don't know. I saw somebody talking about how it seems like Carlos is always trying to make sure he's got some kind of a compelling backstory.
Right.
But it seems almost forced in comparison to everybody else's.
Right. Right.
So I don't know. I mean, and this contemporary, I was so flippin' confused about this contemporary. I watched it and went, what the hell is that?
Well, it was interesting, but I guess the rules are a little looser. Contemporary, you don't have the things you have to hit, the very specific things you have to do in ballroom and in Latin that, you know what I mean? So I guess there's a little bit more leeway.
Well, it wasn't so much that. It was so much, I'm used to contemporary on this show having a song that connects. I didn't connect to that song. I didn't feel like the choreography connected to the song, and I didn't feel like the dance connected to the audience at all. I didn't feel like there was a storyline throughout the thing. I felt like it was just some moves that Whitney threw together and, let's use a rope, so we'll do that funky thing. And that rope is such a copy of what Derek did with Amy Purdy back in the finals.
The interesting thing about that, both Whitney and Lindsay have a background in ballroom, really strictly ballroom. But and I think this is where it kind of shows with them when it comes to contemporary, and you have wonderful choreographers like Stacey Tukey or Sonia Tayak. They know how to do exactly what you said: an emotional song, connect to it, bring an emotional topic to it. Anyway, I think that might be a little bit of an experience with working with something like contemporary on Whitney's part. But I do think in terms of his moves and his athleticism and kind of getting into it, I thought it was one of Carlos's best dances of the season for him.
Yeah.
But, again, it's very hard to judge contemporary compared to a quick step or a tango or a paso where you have to hit certain things a certain way, or a jive, which is so specific. So it's kind of tough. So I don't know what I'm judging it on. I think it was more of a general feel looking at him. I felt like he wasn't just lumbering around. He was really getting into it.
Yeah.
But
well,
I definitely...
the thing about, for me, for contemporary is, to me, a truly artistic format. And art is very subjective. You either connect to it or you don't. And that's where succeeds or fails with each individual person, is whether or not it connects with that person that's watching. So,
when I was a kid, there was a phrase we used to use, which I don't hear anymore, called modern dance. And I feel like that was sort of like modern dance put together in a dance studio just to get the moves down, like playing in what you're saying. You're right. It wasn't really a story. It wasn't like so that's interesting. One of the things
I saw Baryshnikov do modern dance. That towards the end of his actual dance career in Chicago, I think with the White Oak Company. And even though there was no story really for that stuff, when the movements are done that impeccably, and that just, it was just, I was like, holy moly, I can't imagine what it was like seeing him live when he was at his glory.
In LA,
So,
I did note, though, just funny, that Whitney barefoot, there's someone I totally associate in spike high heels and skimpy outfits and doing the whole thing and never missing a step and kind of being an odd women who could wear heels and dance like that. And here she was barefoot for the first time. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know. You'd have to really be a fan of the show and her and whatever to really notice that, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, they ended up with 28. What was it? 2 9s and a 10?
2 9s and a 10. Yeah. 9, 9, 10.
9s from the girls and 10 from Bruno. 10 from Bruno. Because Carlos took his shirt off.
Yeah.
Take your shirt off, you got pecs and defined abs, and you get a 10 from Bruno.
He's spending the whole last part of this whole competition with his shirt off.
Yeah.
No complaints for me.
I guarantee him 110, at least one dance, 110.
Yeah.
And then we ended on Nick and Sharna with the tango.
Right.
And
I wrote down the package was really heavy. That was kind of like a big, sobby, heavy package.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe he watched it and got in his head about it, and
that tango seemed off. That's what I just not. I mean, he's done so much better over the last few weeks than that. You know?
Yeah, it really, it's one of those times when I don't normally see him being in his head when they talk about him being in his head.
Right.
This one I saw him in his head almost immediately, you know, and they talked about
Harry and I, when that sort of, they stopped and whatever, and like, what, who stops? And then I realized when they talked after the dance, she was giving him a pep talk. He was kind of like, something happened and they were, we're gonna go. But it was weird. It's like you're watching at home and it just stalled in the middle. With them
they said, I was reading a lot of stuff, and they said that she planned that. She planned that little break in the center.
It just didn't work because we thought they stopped to sing the lyrics. I was like, what's with the stop and singing thing? And then when we got to the end, I added, oh, it was a pep talk. But only, maybe that might have been erroneously stated by the judges or by Tom or by Eric.
He was talking to him. I mean, she basically said, I got you.
Yeah.
But I think they were lip syncing the lyrics, but still,
didn't work.
Like I said, I saw a couple of different postings or interviews, or Sharna did an interview after they did those, you know, the post-show media stuff, and I'm pretty sure they said that she said that pause was choreographed, which is a Sharna trait. She does choreograph pauses and choreograph stillness.
But it was too long, and it's just not the right song to do that. I think the tango, it just broke it broke every, you know, I don't.
And you know what? Maybe it would not have been quite so jarring if they hadn't been off.
Right.
You know, if the whole thing had gone the way it had been planned, it might have been, it might have been a moment. That's what she was trying to. I think that's what she was trying to choreograph, was a moment.
Right.
So they were hard. They gave him all 8s.
Yeah, and I thought that was right, I guess.
So,
and one thing I didn't write down, but I remember offhand, and I think it was sometime between the couples, it wasn't in the dance-offs, suddenly we came back from a break or we started, they still watched that. Val did a whole dance with one of the other pros, and I should have taken notes, but I was thinking to myself, since Tamar wasn't there, they actually gave Val, because it was coming back from the break, but it wasn't, they came back from the break and it started, it wasn't a bump in where the audience was watching it for a minute and we only saw
it was a full, like,
it was a pretty
45
full
seconds to a minute, yeah.
Minute,
but you know what? Val is their headliner on tour.
Yeah.
Oh, you know why they're pimping Alec? Alec is going on tour.
There you go.
So I saw that somewhere, that it was like, oh, no wonder they got to get on board with Alec. He's agreed to do the tour.
Yeah, they got to do that. Anyway, I thought it was interesting that Val is so big and so whatever. They made sure he got a little bit of a longer dance than 20 seconds of a bump.
Yeah, but like I said, Val is their tour headliner as far as their pro goes. He's the biggest one. So yeah, they've got to try to keep a way to keep him in and relevant until the end of the season.
Right, and he's a fan favorite. It just doesn't hurt. And they probably had a little time for it anyway because of her. Now, this is where they talked about her diagnosis and the whole hospital package.
And you know what? I was so sick and tired of Tamar basically dominating 2 shows.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, are you kidding me?
She's out and she's still dominating.
Yes, and because we heard about it at the beginning, we're going to tell you about Tamar. Right. But stay tuned. So just freaking tell us about her and then move on.
But what's relevant for us is that you and I went on and on about not, the liability and how do you go back. According to them now, from what they were talking about, she came back and did her group thing, whatever it was, and then went back to the hospital and got the blood clot diagnosis. So according to what they said, it was after the episode she went right back, and that's when the diagnosis was. They didn't know what it was then. Maybe they wouldn't have allowed her back if you believe it. Maybe I do believe it, because I was shocked that they would let her out. And she go to Cedars? I don't remember.
I was assuming she was at Cedars. I don't know geographically where the studios are.
Fairfax and Cedars are.
I know where Fairfax and Cedars are, but I don't know where the studios are.
Oh, they're in the studios in Television City. So it's Beverly and Fairfax, and the hospital is Beverly and San Vicente.
San Vicente, yeah, because I was 9 months.
9
months down down.
So they are less than a mile down Beverly from each other.
Oh yeah, she went to Cedars.
Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe that's true because it was very surprising to us, and you're a nurse, so even more so to you, that she would be cleared, or that she broke the rule, that
She would never have been cleared if.
Right. So it makes sense.
But no doctor should have let her out of the hospital.
They shouldn't have done it, knowing what she had. But if they thought it was maybe a pneumonia, then apparently, according to them, she went back, and then the diagnosis was given, and then she dropped out. So.
Well, and I'm just wondering, my whole thing, I did a rant somewhere about how did they tell her she had pneumonia? Pneumonia is usually you can diagnose it upon an x-ray, and you either see it or you don't. But if you had an x-ray, there may have been other stuff in there. How do you see pneumonia and not see the clots?
I find that most diagnoses, they tell you don't have pneumonia. I've had a couple of bronchitises where I thought maybe I did, and they tell you right away, no, it's not pneumonia, but it sounds like you might have a bronchitis or, whatever.
Yeah, well, like I said, pneumonia you can see on x-ray.
Right.
Pneumonia a lot of times will there'll be diminished sounds because your lungs are full, so you're not getting expansion, you're not getting air moving in those lobes where you've got the fluid.
Right.
So, but I don't know.
So anyway, that's Tamar, and
Tamar, and she's gone, and I'm very sorry that she's having this medical issue.
Oh, no,
but
of course.
Enough already.
Right. She's done. She's gone.
Yes. So then we moved to the dance-offs.
Yeah.
And did they start with Alec and Carlos?
No, they started with Carlos. Yeah, Alec and Carlos in the cha-cha.
And the cha-cha. So, and I thought Alec did a decent job. It was not the most accomplished cha-cha.
Right.
Carlos, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It was good, and they won. All three judges.
Yeah.
They won the points, all three.
Yeah, I just don't remember his dance. I think I saw it, but man, I do not remember it. Yeah. So yeah, Carlos and Whitney got the 3 extra points, and then we moved on to Bindi and Nick doing a samba.
Right.
Which Nick was lucky; he had done samba during the Saturday Night Fever routine.
Right.
So, and it looked to me like Sharna had definitely recycled a number of moves and steps from that to put it in.
Which is smart. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bindi had not done a samba.
No, but I thought the shaking of the booties was really good. Booties, as I wrote. They ended up with all 3 points, and I thought they deserved it. I thought they were really good. Yeah.
Well, what really impressed me was they started off with the samba rolls.
Right.
Right at the beginning, which is one of those things that Len would harp on. That if a samba doesn't have samba rolls, he absolutely would throw a fit.
Right.
So it seems to me like Derek is still kind of choreographing with Len on his shoulder in the back of his mind.
Good. Len made an imprint.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining things. So, but anyway, that gave Bindi and Derek the 3 extra points.
Right. But Derek may be also thinking about Julianne because she doesn't cut him a lot of breaks, but I think she's fair with her brother. I think she doesn't just not. I mean, but she will not. And she's a little bit of a stickler, like for certain ballroom dances. I don't know. Or certain Latin dances. So maybe Derek is thinking of that too. She's not going to let him off the hook.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So then we move on to the trios, which I love the trios. I think the trios are, really can be really interesting and cool concepts. And I've seen some really cool ones in the past.
That first one up really blew me away. I loved it.
Was that the Bindi and Derek one with Mark doing the jazz with the cube?
But I also think you paired the 2 greatest choreographers on the show, male choreographers, with the leading contestant. It had to be good. If it wasn't, it would have been glaring. But that was quite the producer's choice there. That's a statement.
Well, I was going to say, Bindi and Derek got to choose Mark. Since he was no longer in the competition, he was available.
Oh, they chose him, right.
Yeah, well, the couples chose their...
It made sense Derek would choose Mark.
Yeah, because they've known each other for 20 years.
Yeah, and they choreographed together. They've been in a band together.
Well, they grew up together.
Right, and they have a band together, or had one.
They had one in the past,
Yeah.
So anyway, the jazz routine, they got 30. So, and I don't know, I thought it was really good and interesting, but there were some things, the rope thing, I was like, I felt like they wasted time with the rope.
Tonight. You're having rope issues.
I am. I don't know. Evidently, I don't like the way they're using the rope.
You know what? We need another session just to delve into Angie's rope issues.
Evidently, I have very specific requirements when you use a rope.
Let's see. I saw Zoomanity, and these Cirque du Soleil shows, there's so much rope.
So then was
too much messing about.
Yeah. I don't. Well, it was jazz.
This is jazz.
So Len might have given it a break, but it was a little contemporary. Right. It was a very contemporary jazz.
Exactly. Then next was Alec, Lindsay, and
Emma, which was so cute. I mean, that's the selection they showed. They showed Alec choosing Emma, and actually everybody chose for Alec because they all were like, "We know who you want, just pick her."
I believe there was one comment that Alec was their pole. I love that. That's cute.
Excuse me.
Oh my.
So they had Argentine tango, which again, I thought was very, very good for Alec, considering what his strengths are.
Absolutely.
Strength being his strength.
Right.
So the lifts and the, moving those girls around and looking like he was in control of them.
Right.
I thought it was great. So 3 9s, which I thought, was really good for him because he's been, before that night, before Monday night, he had been stuck in the 8 box.
Right.
So ended up with a 27 for him. So I was
he had a busy, was it over the weekend? Because I know we covered it. He and his other 2 friends were honored at Dodger Stadium. So during that week, they were they had like a whole big event.
And they went to the Lakers game too. I thought
it was Lakers game.
They were the Lakers game.
It was at Staples.
Yeah, Dodgers. Baseball's over.
Yeah, baseball's over.
In case you missed it, baseball is over.
Done. They didn't put anything in there on that, though. I was surprised. Maybe they just...
Maybe because a couple of weeks ago, they showed him being honored at the World Series.
Oh.
Because they were honored at the World Series. Yeah, and baseball. You evidently blanked out on the baseball.
Yeah.
Because they showed him getting a bat from Mike Moustakas, and I noticed Mike Moustakas sitting in the audience with his wife on Monday.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, they got, like I said, 27. And then we moved on to Carlos and Whitney with Karina doing a Charleston.
Right.
And
that
I was
a good piece of choreography.
I was surprised when both girls said they'd never done a Charleston.
I know.
Especially Karina. I'm surprised with Karina not having done a Charleston before.
Yeah.
It was very, very stagey. I mean, very much a stage show presentation, Charleston, like a little clip or a little snippet.
Keep in mind, I guess they mean they haven't done a Charleston on the show. I don't know if it means they never did one, but the Charleston is a fairly new thing they put into the mix. They've only been adding that the last few years, and usually only a couple of seasons. So,
well, yeah, it seems like I felt like it was out of left field the first time I saw it.
Right.
The first time I heard them announce they were doing Charleston, I was but that was the year they were doing some really weird additional dances because they did what was that one that Derek and Sean did that was. I was just kind of like...
I have seen them occasionally do the Lindy Hop, which is a little different from the jive. And I've seen them do a couple of these things that they never bring back too much. Have they ever done disco? I know So You Think You Could Dance does disco, and I get confused where I've seen it.
I can't remember.
And it's not really disco. It's sort of like,
it's representational of that disco era. They make it disco. They make it disco with the pants and the dress and the hair.
And the music has the beat, but it's not the traditional hustle and cha-cha disco. Because you know why? A lot of those things that you would see back in the day were just variations of cha-cha and samba, and they were very much like that.
Yeah.
So they make it a showy thing.
Yeah. So anyway, Carlos and they got a 29. So was it 2 10s and a 9?
Yes, it was 9 for Carrie Ann, and then
10. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think they did a great job. It was fun.
Yeah. So Nick, Sharna, and Peta doing a salsa. Which, I mean, I love this dance. Nick excels at being able to do the side-by-side stuff.
Right.
He really doesn't. He's kind of the opposite of Alec. He does better on his own.
Right.
And in hold, he looks a little uncomfortable.
It was very evident a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Nick went into that little bit of a Broadway thing during his, was it contemporary or
not contemporary? It's a quick step.
Quick step, and he had that little
step with the hats
solo.
And the boys, and
Right. So you're right. He definitely does, and Alec is definitely better in the group thing.
And I don't know if it's just that Nick is so intent. It looks like he stiffens up when he gets in hold.
Right.
I mean, when I say uncomfortable, he literally looks physically uncomfortable. Like he can't find his posture. He feels like he has to hunch down. But of course, Sean is like 5'2", 5'3".
So Nick is
like 6'2".
Right. That's a big difference.
So he may feel like he's got to bring himself down to her. So that may be this thing that I keep seeing, that I feel like he's, you know, made himself small, and it's kind of sitting into his hips. He's not pulled up out of his hip. That's what I keep thinking. I keep feeling like he's kind of collapsed into his hips. His torso's kind of collapsed down, rather than having that chest really raised and pulled up, like there's this string pulling his chest up and forward, and these shoulders kind of out and back. I feel like he's all more like this. I don't know if you can even see what I'm doing, but
I can. It's like,
yeah. So anyway, that's been my big disappointment with him, is Sharna not having been able to correct that in hold.
Right.
But they ended up with a 30. I mean, it's Salsa and it's Peta and Sharna.
Yeah, it was very sizzling. It's funny. One of the things I wrote was that they were in sync, and I wrote, Backstreet.
Had you been drinking when you
made
watched?
myself laugh. She's funny.
So anyway, I don't have the list of the leaderboard, but I know that Nick and Sharna are at the bottom.
Right.
With
Even
54.
Score, yeah.
And Bindi, we had 2 60s because Carlos and Whitney ended up with the 3 points, so they ended up with a 60.
Right.
So 60, 60, 57, and 54. So basically what we see is Bindi, Carlos, Alec, and then Nick. And then having our top two, most people's top two being in jeopardy.
Right.
Do we believe that one of those two truly had the lowest combined judges and fan
Finds
votes?
it hard to believe, but maybe.
I find it super hard to believe, unless the Backstreet Army is more like a squadron.
Right.
Rather than an army. And there's a squadron of them voting their fingers off, but everybody else is just watching. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of thinking that Alec is doing well enough that he's going to make the top 3 on
Bindi
Monday,
will.
and Bindi will. And then I'm kind of I would have said a couple of weeks ago Nick over Carlos.
But
you
now
know,
I don't know.
any day. But now I'm like, I don't know. Did Carlos connect with somebody in the audience so that people were voting for him? Because I don't. He's not as bad as Tamar was for me, where I didn't connect with Tamar at all for some reason. I mean, but there's something about Carlos that to me comes off disingenuous.
Right.
You know, that's my problem with him, is that I just feel like he's trying too hard. I don't know. I don't connect with him, and so I would prefer to see him in 4th and see the top 3. And there's a chance Alec could sneak into that top 2. You know, if Nick's fans, I think Bindi's a lock.
There's a history of military heroes going to at least 2nd place, if not winning, on this show.
Yeah, well, and I think if
Bindi's definitely going to the final, the last final.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and if she doesn't win it, I will be super surprised.
Right. Her personality is so winning. I just think she's popular as a person, kicks ass as a contestant. She's gotten the judges' scores. She's had kind of like everything going for her. So, and she's young, and she's, people, I don't know.
And she's got the most popular pro on the show.
Right.
Pro.
Right.
Which can also be a backlash, because there can be people who are like, Derek shouldn't win a 6th mirror ball. But I saw him post somewhere or somebody posted on his behalf that, yes, Derek may have won 5, but Bindi hasn't won any.
Right.
So
people
make it about the celebrity like it's supposed to be, rather than about the pro that's guiding her there.
Exactly.
So anyway, but this is Derek's last contracted year on Dancing with the Stars. So he may have to do, I don't know if he has to do season 22 to fulfill his contract, because I saw at the end of last year that he had a year left on his contract. So I was assuming that was 2 more seasons, but maybe, I don't know if it's an actual.
He may have to do the spring. They do 2 a season.
Yeah.
So he may have to do spring and then wrap it up.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's always that thing. Will Derek be back?
I can't imagine that Derek is not going to make a killing choreographing either stage or concerts.
Well, and there's some talk of him going and doing, dancing on Broadway, being in a show and dancing on Broadway.
Dancing, right.
Yeah, something.
Young. I mean, what is he? 30? I mean, he's young.
He is young. He's like 30.
29, 30. I mean,
yeah. Julianne is a couple years younger, but he's
right. Right. I mean, I've been watching for a few years now, so I have to remember that remember them when I started. They're 7.
Well, he's been on the show for 16 seasons.
Right. I've been watching since fall of 07 when he was on.
And yeah, it
So
seemed like he
8
was
years.
22, 23 when he first came on.
Right. So
Julianne was young because she's younger.
she was 19 when I was watching her in the beginning of my watching.
So yeah, and he came on a couple of seasons after she did.
Right.
And like I said, he's a couple years older than she is.
Right.
So
anyway. he's got some dancing life left in him for sure.
Yeah, and then I definitely choreographing. I could see him taking over as creative director if he wanted to for Dancing with the Stars, rather than them always using Mandy Moore.
Right. Right.
You know?
He could do anything he wants, really.
Yeah, which would definitely cut down on his commitment with the show to where he could do other stuff.
Right.
So, all right. Well, let's not talk about that yet because we're not at the season end yet. Next week is the finale. It's a 2-day finale. There's Monday night with all 4 people dancing, everybody having a freestyle.
Right.
They'll eliminate somebody at the end of Monday night. And then, is it Tuesday's show they're shooting at the Grove?
I don't know.
They're shooting, I think one of the shows they're shooting at the Grove.
I'm going to go.
Outside at the Grove.
Yeah.
So.
My schedule shall interfere.
Yeah. Anyway, we will try and be back. It's Thanksgiving week next week for us, so I don't know what Scotty's schedule is. I know I'm working Wednesday, Thursday.
Right. I'm cooking Thursday, bringing it to my sister's, but we'll try and work it in.
So yeah, we'll see. Maybe Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday morning. Just kind of depends on between the two of us. I know I'm available Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Just depends on, other stuff that's going on.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching,
See you then.
and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.